Hello and welcome back to another assembly from the For You children's team. I want to pick up on the story of Ruth. So we're on part 3 now. If you've missed any of it, go back in the playlist and look at part 1 and part 2. So I want to tell you a story, and it was the other day I was walking home from the shops and I had 3 big bags of shopping with me and I was carrying them along and I had lots of tins, and then as I was walking along the bag started to stretch and it started to get longer and it got thinner, and eventually the bag split and all of my shopping fell out. And I was stood there and was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Thankfully, some people were walking along and they said, well, we'll help you. And they helped gather up all my shopping and I was able to get home okay. Weirdly though, if I lived in an older time, back when Ruth was alive, people used to deliberately drop food and they used to leave it there. And the reason being was because people who had nothing would go and collect it up and would have something for themselves. So everybody got some food. And this is what happened in the story of Ruth. Let's have a look.
Back then, though, it was hard for women to find work. Usually, they had to be taken care of by their husband or a dad. It's really hard to imagine that now, but Naomi and Ruth might not have even known how they'd survive. At first, to get food, Ruth went to the fields of a man named Boaz and followed his harvesters around. If they dropped anything, even just a piece of grain, she picked it up. This was called gleaning. Ruth worked from morning to night and barely even took a break. Boaz noticed. He told his workers to leave behind some extra grain for her to gather. When Naomi heard about this, she was overjoyed because Boaz was Naomi's relative and what's called a family redeemer. That meant that it was his responsibility to take care of his family. If anybody was going to rescue Ruth and Naomi, it was Boaz. Kids, we have a redeemer too. It's Jesus. He's the one who saves us. Anyway, this gave Naomi an idea. She told Ruth to put on her best clothes and perfume and then go to the place where Boaz was sleeping. Naomi said that once Boaz had gone to sleep, Ruth should lay down by his feet. Now, this may sound like a weird plan, but it was actually really brave. Ruth trusted Naomi and obeyed. When Boaz woke up, he was surprised. After all, someone was lying at his feet. That's not exactly a normal night. When Boaz asked who Ruth was, she said, "I am your servant. You are my family redeemer." Now Boaz understood. Ruth wanted Boaz to marry her so that she and Naomi would both be taken care of. Boaz agreed. This was a huge deal. Ruth wasn't an Israelite, but she wanted to follow God anyway. By marrying Boaz, she got to officially be part of God's family. In fact, Ruth's great-grandson was King David, and many, many years later, Jesus, the rescuer, was born into the same family line. Now, because of Jesus, we get to be a part of God's family too. So, in case you missed it, here's the quick version. Ruth was from Moab. Her husband died. Ruth was left with his mom, Naomi. Naomi told her to go home. Ruth said no. She went to Israel with Naomi. They needed someone to take care of them. Ruth gleaned in a field. Boaz noticed. He left extra grain for Ruth. Naomi made a plan. Ruth obeyed it. She wanted to marry Boaz. He agreed. Ruth became part of God's special family. And we can too. And that's a part of God's story.
So Ruth lived in a time where it was really difficult for women to survive without a man. It's weird to imagine now because women are so important and so independent, and it's important that we're all treated equally. But at that time, women needed a man to support them. So this man who ended up becoming Ruth's husband was such a kind person to choose to help her when he didn't need to. It's really important that we choose to help people who need us, even if we don't need them at the time. It's important to help people who are less fortunate than us, who don't have as much as us. We are so lucky to live in a time and live in a place where food is easily found. We have machines that gather our food. We have shops that are full of food. It's important that we try and support organisations that are helping people who don't have as much as we do. At school, you have something called the One Can Trust, and One Can Trust collects food that you can leave at school, and they take it to people who really need it because they don't have anything. My message from this assembly is to encourage you to think, yes, at the moment times might be hard, but there are people who are struggling even more than us. And when we have something and somebody else has nothing, that's not fair. So we should try and share everything with everyone. Maybe you can help at home. You can say a kind word to someone who really needs to hear it. You can share some of your food. You can ask your parents about maybe leaving donations at your shop or at your school for a charity that really needs help. This is a message that is given in the story of Ruth, and this is a message that is given throughout Christian faith, is that we should look out to help others. We should always be looking to help others before ourselves. I'm going to pray now. Dear God, thank you that you love us so much that you sent Jesus to help us. Help us to be as generous as you are. Help us to help everybody who needs us, and give us eyes to see those who need our help. Amen. Thank you, and look for part 4 coming very soon.